Here's the thing. I think that today's a positive for Purdue because along the way, there's something to be said about losing a game and taking certain things from it that you got exposed for, and that you can truly say there's a motivational factor the next time you come out to get better. Because sometimes there's a saying of like, well, when you win close over a lesser opponent, that's the best kind of game because you still won the game. Like sometimes you got to take your lump in college basketball. Alabama did it a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right, to Oklahoma, to a team that Alabama probably beats Oklahoma 90 to 95 times out of 100 this year. But on that day last Saturday, they lost. Purdue didn't get their doors blown off. And frankly,
and they could have.
Frankly, they could have. Halfway through, when Indiana puts up 50 in a half on Purdue, you're sitting there saying, if you're the Boilermakers, past Matt Painter teams lose today by 20. Because Matt Painter said it. This team's different because they defended a very high level. Purdue did not give up a three in the second half. Mm-hmm. Okay, Indiana did not hit a single three-pointer in the second half, and that's a big picture concern I still have with the Hoosiers, because from the perimeter they can go hot and cold, and when it gets cold, it gets very cold. But to me, guys, is there not, Laval, a psychological effect of 22-1, 20-1? They're the best team. There's no question about it. And I know you feed off that, but is there a part of this where, look, we all know that Purdue's on the number one line for an NCAA tournament spot. There's an argument to say that they would still be the number one overall seed after this loss. Like, how much good can come of this, knowing Matt Painter, knowing who Purdue is, that they didn't lose this game by 15 to 20? Yeah, you don't want to lose, but the way that they played this game, the way that they out-rebounded Indiana by 16.
Yeah, I don't think, John, listen, the freshmen were freshmen on the road in terms of shooting the back, not their courage. Like they played fearless as they've been playing all year. They just didn't make the shots. Fletcher Lawyer was 1 for 6 from three. Braden Smith was 1 for 8 from the floor, but it wasn't like they were afraid. They just didn't make them. If they do, it's a whole different ball game. I think what they take down 15, Zach Edey to start the second half, they just threw it in. He scored like 8 points before the media timeout to get him back in the game. And that's what he can do for you. I think the formula is the same if you have a chance to beat Purdue. Rutgers has it. If you can press Edey up and get him away from the basket as far as you can, which is easier said than done, and pressure them and disrupt their sets, disrupt their stuff. I thought Indiana's perimeter pressure, bothered them and kind of got them out of their stuff. They played more pick and roll with Braden in it. And so that's kind of the formula to have. You got to have somebody can press him up like Trey. So you're not down on Purdue. It's, on a night like that, do the young guys, if we're going to put Braden in the pick and roll and play that way because we're getting pressed out of our actions, he's going to grow out of being 1 for 8. And I don't think he'll have too many nights like that, but that was kind of what it was today in terms of, the plan of attack to beat him.
The thing that was most impressive to me, and honestly, I feel better about Purdue now than maybe I did before the game. Everyone's going to get punched in the mouth, right? It's college basketball. You're playing on the road. You go into a building like what Assembly Hall was today. There's going to be times where you just get punched in the mouth, and Purdue got punched in the mouth in the first half. You know what they did? They came out in the second half. They said, we're going to do what we do, and we're going to find a way to claw our way back. And I think they cut it to 1 in the second half. Right?
They had a chance to take the lead, a couple times. Yeah,
they cut it to 1. You can't ask for any more than that. And I was so impressed with the team, with the way that they played in the second half. And, it's no one's going to go undefeated this year. No one's going to go undefeated in the Big Ten. The Big Ten might be down a little bit overall, but it's still a very, very good league with a lot of really difficult home courts. Purdue got punched in the mouth and they fought back.
And 8 or 9 NCAA tournament teams. I mean, at the end of the day, your depth is there. The Big 12 is the best conference in college basketball, but the Big 10, for its depth, every night you're going up against, for the most part, almost every night you're going up against somebody that on their best day is good enough to be playing in the NCAA tournament. And I think Laval, big picture here, the marathon, right? You get to February. What's the dynamic of coaching a team in the month of February? I remember you and Butler, you had it rolling. Top 5 in America, had a great team. Like, what's the dynamic when you're coaching a great team to say when the calendar turns to February, how do we not drop off what we've been doing? But also, how do I have this team fully ready to go so that somehow we could play our best basketball when the calendar does turn to that conference tournament and the NCAA tournament? What's the science at this point in the season for a coach?
Yeah, you're shortening up, the things you're doing. You're just trying to be more efficient with your time, knowing, you're traveling in conference play and with classes and everything else. You're back in school now. Christmas break's over, the break's over. You're now back in class. You're on the road, a couple games a week, sometimes 9 o'clock tip, sometimes you're getting back at 3 a.m. So it's as much, managing the fatigue, not necessarily, on the court and playing the games, but just all the stuff in between that kind of wears you out. So you're trying to just be efficient with your practices and not have information overload, but get in what you need to get in to keep guys fresh mentally and physically. And I think the mental part doesn't get talked about enough because, you sit in a long film session, you can wear you out and as much as practicing for 2 hours.
Are you saying that you have guys falling asleep when you're doing film sessions, Laval? Is that what you're telling me here?
And that's the balance, because as a coach, you need to get in. You want to get in what you want to get in, but you're trying to, be mindful of the fact that guys are tired and you want to keep them fresh because at some point, energy trumps strategy. It's like, hey, Purdue played with great energy to start the second half, and they just did what it's not about. Let's just do what we do, like Rob said, and do it with great energy.